"Are you sure we should do this, Jessica?" Emmanuel asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Jessica hesitated, glancing around the room, her curiosity piqued. "I don't know, Emmanuel," she whispered back, her voice filled with doubt. Emmanuel nodded, though his own hesitation was clear. "It's just like in the videos," he said, though his words lacked confidence. Before we dive into this story, please consider subscribing to my channel, turning on notifications, and letting me know where you're watching from in the comments. In the bustling city of Lagos, nestled in a quiet compound, two families, Go's and Ada's, were the perfect example of neighborly harmony. Their bond extended beyond friendship. It was family. Go's son Emmanuel and Ada's daughter Jessica, both 12 years old, shared an inseparable connection. They attended the same school, played together every day, and were often seen running around the compound with carefree laughter. Emmanuel, being Go's only child, was her pride and joy. To keep him entertained and aid his studies, Ada had gifted him a sleek smartphone. Initially, Emmanuel used it innocently, playing colourful games and streaming cartoons on YouTube. Jessica was always by his side, watching and laughing as they explored the phone's features. The phone became their shared treasure, a source of endless amusement during quiet afternoons. One evening, with the compound unusually still and their mothers out at the market, Emmanuel decided to show Jessica something new he'd discovered. As he scrolled through the phone, he stumbled upon an app filled with countless videos. It wasn't one he usually opened, but today, curiosity tugged at him. His finger hovered over a thumbnail displaying a dramatic image with bold colors and intense expressions. "What's that?" Jessica whispered, leaning closer to the screen. "I don't know," Emmanuel replied, grinning. "Let's see." The two children crept into Emmanuel's room and locked the door behind them. They sat cross-legged on the bed, the phone resting between them. When the video started, they were greeted with strange, unfamiliar scenes. The characters on the screen spoke in low, dramatic tones, their actions unfamiliar, yet oddly intriguing. "What are they doing?" Jessica's eyes widened in confusion. Emmanuel shrugged, his gaze fixed on the screen. "I don't know." Their fascination grew as they watched, unable to look away. There was something forbidden about it, something thrilling, even though they couldn't fully grasp what it meant. They exchanged confused glances but said nothing, letting the mysterious scenes unfold before them. Suddenly, the sound of the compound gate creaking open jolted them from their trance. Panic set in as they realized their mothers might be back. Emmanuel fumbled with the phone, his hands trembling, but instead of closing the video, he accidentally turned the volume up. "Turn it off!" "They'll hear us," Jessica gasped, her voice rising. "I'm trying," Emmanuel whispered urgently, his heart pounding. Footsteps echoed from the compound. The children froze, listening. The voices of their mothers grew louder as they approached the apartment. Desperation took over as Emmanuel finally managed to close the app and shoved the phone under his pillow. The door handle rattled. "Emmanuel, open this door," Go's voice called from the other side. Both children decided to pretend like they were playing hide and seek. Go didn't suspect anything out of the ordinary. She was used to seeing Jessica around. The next day, Emmanuel and Jessica returned from school, their uniforms slightly rumpled from the day's activities. As they entered the compound, they noticed the silence. Their parents were out again. Their hearts raced with a mix of excitement and nervousness. Emmanuel dashed into his room, tossing his school bag onto the bed. He quickly changed into a simple t-shirt and shorts. Jessica hurried into her room, slipping into a casual dress, and tiptoed to Emmanuel's door. She knocked softly. "Emmanuel, I've been waiting for you," he said, his voice low but eager. "Let's finish the video from yesterday," she replied, her eyes wide with anticipation. Emmanuel locked the door behind her. They climbed onto the bed, the phone resting between them. He swiped through the apps until he found the video. The screen lit up with the paused image from the previous day, rekindling their curiosity. "Let's keep this a secret," Emmanuel whispered, glancing at Jessica. Jessica nodded quickly. "Of course, just you and me." The video resumed, and the strange, unfamiliar scenes unfolded once again. They still didn't understand much of what they were watching, but something about it felt thrilling and forbidden. It became their little secret, a world they could retreat to when the compound was quiet and their parents were away. Over the next few months, their secret routine continued. The moment their parents left the house, Jessica would sneak into Emmanuel's room. The door would lock, and they would sit side by side on the bed, eyes glued to the glowing screen. Each new video seemed more mysterious and strange than the last. At first, they still played in the compound, their usual laughter echoing through the air, but slowly things began to change. They became quieter, more reserved. The vibrant games and cheerful shouts that once echoed around the compound faded into silence. Their parents noticed the shift but chalked it up to the children growing up. One evening, Go noticed Emmanuel sitting silently on the living room couch. "Emmanuel, is everything okay? You've been so quiet lately," she asked, her brow furrowed. "I'm fine, Mom," Emmanuel replied, avoiding her gaze. Meanwhile, Jessica was similarly distant. When Ada asked why she wasn't playing outside, Jessica simply shrugged. "I don't feel like it." The bond between Emmanuel and Jessica remained, but it felt different. They were no longer the carefree, playful children who ran around the compound. Instead, they shared stolen glances and exchanged whispers about their secret world. One evening, as they watched yet another video, Jessica turned to Emmanuel. "Do you think it's bad that we're watching these?" she asked hesitantly. Emmanuel paused the video, his eyes meeting hers. "I don't know, it's just interesting, right?" Jessica nodded but didn't seem convinced. "Maybe, but what if someone finds out?" "We won't let them," Emmanuel said firmly. "It's our secret." But the weight of their secret was starting to show. Both children became more withdrawn. Their moods shifted unpredictably. Jessica would sometimes burst into tears without explanation, while Emmanuel grew irritable and defensive when questioned. Over time, Emmanuel and Jessica ventured deeper into the world of the unknown. Their curiosity led them to discover new apps and websites that hosted similar content. It felt like a secret treasure trove hidden from the adults around them. The videos became bolder, more confusing, and provocative. They didn't fully understand what they were seeing, but it fascinated them. "What do you think those things mean?" Jessica asked one day, her voice tinged with curiosity. Emmanuel shrugged, avoiding her gaze. "I don't know. It's strange." Jessica leaned closer, her eyes lighting up with an idea. "Why don't we try what they're doing? Maybe then we'll understand." Emmanuel stared at her, shocked. The idea sent a wave of unease through him. "What if it's dangerous? What if my mum catches us?" Jessica shook her head, her tone confident. "No one will know. It'll just be us." Emmanuel hesitated, his heart pounding. He wanted to say no, to tell her it was a bad idea, but the fear of disappointing her held him back. "Okay," he finally said, though his voice wavered. The opportunity came one quiet afternoon. Both mothers had gone to the market, leaving the house empty. The compound was silent, save for the occasional chirping of birds. Jessica knocked softly on Emmanuel's door, and he let her in. "Are you sure about this?" Emmanuel asked, his nerves showing. Jessica nodded. "It's just us, remember." They decided to go to the bathroom, thinking it was the safest place to avoid suspicion. If anyone came back unexpectedly, they could pretend they were taking a bath together. Inside the bathroom, Emmanuel pulled out his phone. Earlier, he had bookmarked a particular scene he thought they could try. His hands trembled slightly as he opened the video and showed it to Jessica. "Let's start with this," he said, his voice barely audible. Jessica watched intently, nodding. "Okay, what do we do first?" Emmanuel explained the steps he'd seen, trying to recall the details as clearly as possible. Jessica listened carefully, her face serious. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Emmanuel asked again, his fear evident. "Let's just try," Jessica replied firmly. "It'll just be us." The two children stood awkwardly, unsure of how to proceed. The bathroom felt smaller, the air heavier. The sound of running water filled the silence as Emmanuel turned on the tap to mask any noise. "Go ahead, Jessica," Emmanuel whispered, his voice trembling. Jessica hesitated, glancing at him nervously. The tension was palpable. Slowly, she knelt down, her knees touching the cold tiles of the bathroom floor. The sound of the running tap continued, masking the silence between them. "Are you sure we should do this?" Jessica asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Emmanuel nodded hesitantly. "It's just like in the videos," he said, though his words lacked confidence. Both felt the weight of their actions, but they couldn't fully grasp the consequences. They had ventured too deep into a world they didn't understand, driven by innocent curiosity that had turned into something far more complicated.